Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Rosie, and in this video, as you can see from the title, we're going to be going into all things pharmacology. This has been my most requested video from comments on this channel and just comments on Facebook from what you guys wanted to see, and that was how I studied pharmacology and the resources that I use, which is super exciting because in this video I've got another free study guide. This is the pharmacology study guide that I made for myself so I could be more organized and know what topics to study with pharmacology. So I've included that free PDF in the description box below, as well as the other free study guide that I use to keep myself organized. They are both available in the description box below. You just have to click on the PDF to download it. So in this video, this isn't just for NCLEX students, this might help nursing students, but I'm just going to be going over how I studied pharmacology. For me, it was for the NCLEX. A lot of the brand names are different compared to the UK. So there were a lot of new medications that I'd never heard of, and I had to go over all of that. And a lot of the lab values that are a part of the drug medications are different also. So there was a lot of new stuff that I had to learn. Even though I'd worked as a registered nurse in England, there was still a ton of stuff that I wasn't aware of and didn't know, and the lab values were different, so I still had to learn a ton of new stuff. So I'm just going to be sharing everything in this video, and hopefully these will help you guys. I'm praying that they will, so let's dive in. So tip number one, and even though this is a small tip, I find this really important, as I've mentioned in other videos, and that is figure out how you're going to get organized with pharmacology. So you guys can take notes in different ways. So for instance, I wrote my notes down with a pen and paper and took my note that way, but you could also type up your notes and then print it off, but just figure out which way you're going to take your note, and then make sure you get yourself a binder. I've got mine right here, and I will show you guys the inside of my binder shortly, but just get yourself all the tools that you need so you can get organized and start studying pharmacology. Print out my free study guide, and then you just got everything that you need so you can get ready to start studying pharmacology. So my next couple of tips, so tip number 2 and 3 are going to be actually how to study pharmacology and hopefully take in the pharmacology information a lot easier. Some of you may already know this. I'm not sure how they teach you guys pharmacology in nursing school out here in the US, because I didn't go to nursing school in the US, but these are my tips for studying pharmacology. Okay, so when you're actually studying, I want you guys to try learning the MOA, the mechanism of action, first. So for instance, don't just look up a medication and start reading everything into that medication. Look up the mechanism of action first. Every drug has an MOA, which is basically just how that drug acts and works within the body, and I will give you guys some examples shortly, but yeah, try and learn the MOA first. You'll then know the side effects, you'll then know the nursing assessment, and basically everything else will just fit together and it'll just click, hopefully. So yeah, there is a reason for me saying that. It's because I'm hoping it will just all click together for you, because that's the way that I learned pharmacology, and I only learned this little tip or this way of studying until I was like halfway through pharmacology, and it definitely helped compared to the way I was previously studying, which was just reading through and taking notes on like everything to do with that drug, the contraindications, like everything to do with that drug. I would just write down and take notes on all of it. Whereas this way, you're learning the action first, so you know what that drug does within the body, and then you can use your critical thinking skills. You can use your general knowledge on, if it does this within the body, it's going to affect this within the body, and therefore my nursing assessment's going to be based around this, and it's probably likely the side effects are going to be this. I'll give you guys some examples shortly, but yes, that is one of my big tips, is to learn the mechanism of action or the action first. So my next little tip for you guys, so however you choose to organize your notes, within that, make sure you have a section for drug toxicity. And the reason I say this is because it's super important for the NCLEX. I had a couple of questions on drug toxicities and like the ranges for that, and I only have 1 page on it, but it's just good to go back and reference it. So if you are studying like drugs and you think to yourself, okay, I know that there is a toxicity level for that drug, you can kind of question yourself, what was the level? I think it was this, and and then go back and check. Kind of use it as like a flashcard. You can like cover them up and then lift them up with like little post-it notes, like just to figure out a way that works for you. But I highly recommend having a section for drug toxicities. Okay, so my next big tip for you guys when learning pharmacology, as well as learning the mechanism of action, is to learn the medications by their class. Group the medications together rather than learning each medication individually, because there's like a million medications out there. So yeah, make it easy for yourselves, guys, and group the medications together. And the reason that I say this is because each drug class will have very, very similar side effects to the nursing assessment, to the mechanism of action. Everything will be very, very similar. So an example of this would be like calcium channel blockers. They all end in dipene, and a tip that I learned when I was learning for the NCLEX is dipene, or you can look it as dipping in the calcium channel. And all of those have the similar sort of action, and they have the similar sort of nursing assessment and side effects, so they all link together. So learn the MOA for the drug classes, and then if you find you need to learn an individual drug on its own rather than the class, you can just learn that drug on its own if you find that you need to do that. But I would advise you guys to learn the class and learn the action of that class, and then if you need to, learn the individual drugs after that. That would be my huge tip for you guys, and definitely saved me a ton of time, and I'll show you that in my binder when I did that. I will also leave a link in the description box to my favorite cheat sheet that I've done with all of the endings, or a lot of the endings, to certain classes of drugs and what class they belong to. There's a ton of them on Pinterest, so you can find your own, but I will just link my favorite in the description box that helped me the most and that I preferred, so I'll leave that down there below for you guys. So my last tip for you before I show you the resources that I used and show you my binder is figure out what kind of flashcards that you want to use. I find flashcards so useful, and I think it's helpful to study multiple ways for pharmacology because it's such a large area. There's so much to learn. So for instance, I took physical notes. I then put those into the binder. I also made my own flashcards. I also purchased some flashcards as well, which again I will show you guys shortly. So yeah, I created my own flashcards for certain medications, and then I did end up just buying flashcards because it did take me a while to write down my notes that I was putting in my binder, but then also taking notes for flashcards. So I did end up just buying some flashcards, and they were really helpful too. Flashcards are the kind of thing that you can use like if you're in the car and you're not driving and you can just have a flick through them, or you're sitting somewhere, or you can take a quick picture of them on your phone if it's like a pharmacology topic that you're not great with. You can use them before bed. There's so many ways that you can use flashcards. I do highly recommend using them, but whether you want to make your own flashcards or buy them is completely up to you. If you are short on time, I recommend just buy them, and then you can sell them to nursing students later on, or marketplace or whatever. You can definitely just like resell them later on. But if you are short of time like I was, I started making my own flashcards, and then I just ended up purchasing some because it was taking too long. So yeah, but flashcards are a great way to study, and I do highly recommend using them whichever way you want to use them. Okay guys, so these are the materials that I used for studying pharmacology. I've got my pharmacology binder that I will show you guys in a second, flashcards, and the pharmacology book. So this pharmacology book is like my holy grail for nursing and pharmacology. It's absolutely amazing. I highly, highly recommend it. If you buy this book, you definitely don't need any more pharmacology books. So this is the Davis Drug Guide for Nurses, 16th edition. I can't quite remember how much it was. I want to say it was around $50, but I could be wrong because that was a couple of years ago. And I'm sure they have other editions available for different prices. But this book is amazing. It is so simple to use. So let me just show you a little bit about it. So you have all your medications in alphabetical order, and you can see them down the side. And the way it's laid out is kind of similar to how I was showing you guys and advising you guys to study that way. So let me just show you. So for instance, here you've got diazepam, You've got the indication, sorry if this is not very clear. You have the action, so the mode of action, how it works. You've got the half-life, contraindications, adverse reactions, interactions. But you also have over here nursing implications, so it goes over the assessment and just like nursing aspects that you need to be aware of. So that's super helpful because this is a nursing related pharmacology book. So this book is great. And then over here, as I mentioned, learning the classifications is super important. So like here you've got beta blockers, you've got the nursing implications, nursing assessment, contraindications, and it goes over the action as a drug class. So then you can go back to the quick sheet of drug classes that I've linked in the description box and use that and learn each classification if you use this book and the quick cheat sheet together. So yeah, that is the Davis Drug Guide. Like I said, I highly recommend it. The resource that I want to show you guys are the flashcards that I purchased. I did begin making my own, but it was taking too long, so I decided to purchase some. And these are the PHARM Flash Pharmacology flashcards. I don't remember how much I purchased these for, but they weren't super expensive, and they're super easy to read. They're categorized by system, so you can go through depending on what system you study in. There's a promo code there, I don't know whether it still works, and I'll pull one out real quick so I can show you guys what they look like if I can get it with one hand. Okay, so it shows you the drug, and then it's got indications, the mode of action, it shows the adverse reaction / side effects, and it's just got a ton of stuff on there, but it's super easy to read and study from. So yeah, I highly recommend these flashcards if you haven't got time to make your own. Okay guys, last and certainly not least is my pharmacology binder. So I'm going to get everything in this binder. I have a couple of notes which are not really related to pharmacology over there. So at the front, I've just kind of got some collections of materials that I've like collected along the years. I've also got some strip rates and stuff that was probably from England, nice guidelines, that's from England. And then here goes into like my actual pharmacology. So as you can see, I've tried to like organize it as best as I can. I got this drug classifications online, and I will try and link it below, but this is super useful as well. So I have like some of my study guide right here to see what I've done. I have some ACLS medications, and again drug toxicities, and the levels are here, which is, like I said, one of my tips to get that in. And then I have the drug classifications and how they're related. Mine was just a bit of a scribble, but I will link something in the description box below. And then I get into everything, which again I decided to write everything out. So for instance, here I've got beta blockers, I've got what they end in, and I've got a list of medications, and I've highlighted that a lot of them end in OLOL. I've started with the mode of action, the side effects, contraindications, anything important like I put in red, and then I went on to calcium channel blockers and did the exact same thing. So yeah, and I did this with all the meds. So I highly recommend studying this way. It worked for me, but you'll find whatever works for you if you know how you study best. But yeah, that is my pharmacology binder. There's nothing special about it, but yeah, that's how I studied pharmacology.